Now, what I wanted to do is just have Minecraft on in the background as I talked a little bit about a few things. I don't know if I like these shaders. If you guys don't know, I don't know how much I've gotten into it, but I've been wanting to do YouTube since probably I was a very small child. The thing with that is it's changed a lot. The question is like, am I doing YouTube for my own reasons, or am I doing YouTube because of something that I envisioned as a child, but now that's no longer what YouTube is? That's the main question that I have to ask myself, because I don't want it to be like I'm chasing after this dream that just is not going to happen because of the way the platform is nowadays. So how does this relate to you? One of the main things that I've seen is people wanting to be VTubers nowadays, and they don't realize VTubing is not all that it's cracked up to be. I'm going to just talk about some of the mistakes I've seen either younger or more naive people make when it comes to YouTube. And I know you guys are probably being like, "Soul, why are you giving me advice? You're not that big." That's a very fair point. My thing is, I've seen so many YouTubers come and go for literally spending most of my life watching YouTube videos back in like 2010. The first thing I want to say is, if you think, man, I want to do YouTube, you have to understand why you're doing it. What makes you want to do YouTube? It's not some cushy job. I'm not going to sit here and say it's hard, but it's not guaranteed. You're going to put a lot of hours in that at the beginning, and you could just get nothing in return. If money is the sole reason why you're doing it, then I'm gonna be honest, you're trying to win a lottery. It's just simply not feasible with how much content is put on YouTube. Your secondary thing should be money. Your first primary thing should be passion. If you upload a lot and are consistent, you might get money. But the most important thing is probably passion. Otherwise, it's going to translate. I've seen so many YouTubers where you can tell they're just trying to get money, and it just seems like a content farm, and I absolutely despise their content. I cannot stand it. They don't last in the long run, and really, they don't make too much money considering all the work they put in. The only time you can really do that is if you already have enough money to spend for editors and all this fancy smancy stuff. Otherwise, you're just going to be sad. There are a lot of benefits to VTubing. You do get that benefit of anonymity, which is really helpful, especially when the job that I'm looking into needs that anonymity. Because I want to go into therapy, I don't want, obviously clients that I have to be like, oh, you're the person in that video. If you want to be a VTuber, here are some of my suggestions. First, don't spend any money on a model. And if you do, make sure, one, you're willing to be able to do that. It's a gamble. I made this model without spending any money. I spent a lot of time on it. The reason I spent a lot of time on it, one, was because I wasn't an artist, and two, was because I was looking at finer details like tracking, doing expressions, things that you probably don't really need, especially at the start. If you do plan on spending money, figure out what you need. A great example of this is like one of the most popular Minecraft YouTubers and most influentials is Ethos Lab. And if you look at Ethos Lab's setup, he doesn't even have a mic stand. He uses a Kleenex box. You don't need all this fancy stuff. It's about knowing what you need to splurge on. If you're in VTubing, if you have bad audio quality, that's going to steer people away the most. Then you want to understand that this is just not guaranteed. It's based off of algorithms you can't control, what people are into, whether you just understand what content is needed, luck, and countless other things that are just frankly outside your control. That's how it is. I'm not here to sugarcoat it to make you feel bad. Because if that's what makes you feel very bad or discouraged, it just might simply not be for you. And don't take that as me saying you can't make it. I'm saying that the effort is high and it's not for everyone, and it's not all cracked up to what it seems. Even if you do make it, are the people who made it happy really? Not usually. I mean, either you see them getting canceled because of doing weird stuff, or they're complaining about how they have no social life because they spent all of their time on YouTube and their whole life becomes YouTube numbers, statistics. It's terrible. Figure out what you want to do. Now, if you say, oh, I want to do YouTube because I have an interesting series idea that I'm really passionate about, that's a good reason to do YouTube. For me, it was, I love videos where people talked about how media has inspired them or just had these deep conversations. That's all I wanted. I wanted to foster a community where I can have conversations that make people feel less alone. Do I expect money? No. Do I want money? Obviously. I mean, who wouldn't? However, I am having fun doing this. It's not like I wake up and I'm like, oh, I gotta do a YouTube thing. It's, you know, sometimes there's some parts that I don't like, oh, I gotta edit, but it's not a drag. Either do a PNG, download VRoid Studio, watch a few videos that teach you how to make it more pretty and less, you know, VRoidy. And that's all you need. Don't spend money. I'm gonna say that 80 bajillion times because I hate seeing people with like $3,000 models waste their time making a lot of YouTube videos and then realizing it's not for them. You gotta have love for the thing before you commit. But yeah, I think that it's a real shame that a lot of people are shifting to, oh, I want to do YouTube to make money. And I think it really took a lot out of just the love of making content. People just literally not being encouraged to make art that is meaningful to them. Because like, even if like, let's say you're a YouTuber who's just doing it for the passion, once you start making money, it's really hard to take a step back and be like, okay, what giant project do I want to make that I think is meaningful and will have a lasting impact? Because you're too busy being like, okay, I gotta find the next video, I gotta find the next video. That's just what I'm guessing. I obviously am not a giant or big YouTuber by any stretch of the imagination. And honestly, I don't know if I even want to be one. I think one of the main reasons that I'm doing YouTube is because I want to figure out more of like my interests and if people share them. I grew up in a very small town, so, you know, liking any anime, any, you know, like literally I used to get bullied for playing games. I was in this weird generation where, you know, playing games made you nerdy, and then later it became cool, and also liking anime became nerdy, and now it's becoming sort of cool. I don't know, I look back at old YouTube with a lot of fondness. I think that also has to do with just like what I was using YouTube for as I was younger. I was in such a small town that I couldn't find a community of anyone who enjoyed my hobbies, so seeing all these people who were willing to talk about their hobbies and do all that just really inspired me and made me feel less alone. I think that in my efforts to try to foster a community and justify all this time that I'm putting into this hobby due to like how much it's been ingrained in my head that I have to be productive and like make money, I really lost like, okay, what kind of content do I just want to make? And really, I don't know. And I think that's just because of the nature of my interests changed so much. Like literally this week, I'm binge watching a bunch of Hermitcraft stuff. So it's like, okay, I feel motivated to play Minecraft, do like mega builds, try and find people to start like some community or SMP. But in a week I could be like, oh, I want to make Gundam model kits, you know? What really is hard for me is I know that the more I, say more provocative stuff, then the more my content will like shine. My issue is that people see anyone who's, trying to be cute, and then they're like, okay, I can immediately talk about doing all this stuff to them. And that's also true with like the ASMR community. I know that if I do all that stuff, it'll work, I'll probably get the views. I'll be more likely to. I'm not gonna say it's a guarantee, but it's like, I don't know if I want that. I think what really has changed my mind in the past few days was watching a lot of Hermitcraft and realizing like, oh yeah, the world isn't like, how do I explain this? Ever since I left for college, I've noticed how sheltered I've been. And in the last couple of years, I've been like really sad because like, I like seeing the world in a more happy, pure, childish rainbow fantasy bullcrap, That's just what makes me happy. I don't like thinking about people taking advantage of other people's situations or like doing more adult stuff, I guess. Not because like I judge them, it's just like I know I don't want to do this, and it feels weird being like, from what I see immediately, the only one not doing this. And the Hermitcrafters could be doing all of this when the camera's off, but it's nice to envision that there are people who are my age or older who don't let the pressure of like the meta of YouTube being very focused on provocative stuff to be affecting their content. Like, they don't swear, they don't make a bunch of jokes that are very lewd or do anything like that. And I just really respect them for that. I don't know, that's not me being like, oh, I'm gonna be completely family friendly, no swearing, no jokes over that. I definitely want to cut back on it. I want to see what I want to be doing on YouTube and not what I think I need to be doing on YouTube, you know what I mean? Instead of playing into this like meta game of like, this is what you need to do to make content that people stick around with. I realize that there's like so many communities and different types of people that, I don't know, I'm not as limited in my options as I thought before, which is really comforting, but also scary as all heck. I don't know, would you guys want to see like an SMP thing? I don't know anyone, but I would definitely want to make one if other people are also interested in doing it. I want to be more PG. I think that that's what I want to do. I want to not alienate my audience or like attract certain people that are looking for something different out of me, if you know kind of what I'm getting at. I think that a lot of people are using YouTubers as a way to not date, if that makes sense. I think that a lot of people are like realizing that dating is really hard nowadays, and they just say really weird stuff to streamers or YouTubers, get very parasocial. I think it's really unhealthy. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm not, lonely. I think that it's alarming just how lonely people are. And I feel bad I'm not doing my part in some way, because it's not like I'm reaching out to anyone despite being lonely. I think it's really easy for me to be like, why do I have to reach out to people? They should reach out to me and love me. And I don't know, it's a two-way street. But I was talking to someone else I knew from high school who's very similar to me. I was talking to her and she seemed to be loving it. Like, we live the very same lifestyle now where we like wake up, read or like watch media, train for, well, they're doing actual stuff like Ironmans and triathlons and half marathons. I just train because I want to. We train and then like rarely talk to people. But it's very different because for me, I'm like, there's definitely some days where I'm like, I'm so happy I'm alone. But there are other days where I'm like, okay, I just want to be hugged. But for them, it seems like they're doing really great. And that made me think like, you know, being alone is not something I want to do forever. And it's not something that I find, you know, to be the pinnacle of my life. But I'm not going to, that shouldn't make me diminish my happiness. Like there are things that I'm uniquely fortunate to be experiencing since I'm alone. Manga I was reading, My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness, which I think is just an amazing book. But one thing that they mentioned, which the first time I read it, I'm like, I don't understand what you're talking about. They said that finding happiness is ignoring all the bad things in your life or something to that extent. Basically, we have a bunch of things that are good and a bunch of things that are bad in our life. And the happy people, she believed, were just people who can ignore all the bad stuff a little more. Which I'm not going to say that that belief is infallible. There's obviously like people where their life is objectively just bad. I think that saying that is just not accepting the fact that, you know, even though you have it bad, it could definitely be worse. And that's not to like diminish what you're going through. That just means like, hey, what you're going through sucks. And I really don't want it to be what's happening right now. But, you know, either we're doing things that are hopefully changing that in the future, or we just can't do that right now and we're just trying to prioritize surviving. That doesn't mean that we can't be happy about some of the things that are going on in our life, some of the blessings, you know. I got really sidetracked. This has like two different parts, like loneliness and purpose and starting YouTube. I'm going to end it here. I hope this made sense or gave you any value. See you in the next one.